Good afternoon, everyone, or good day wherever you are in your day. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll let the room here fill as we kick off things. Just let the virtual room here warm up. And whether you're joining us now or later, if you want to grab a cup of tea, water, thanks for giving us your time for this webinar today. All right, we'll dive in. So thank you all for joining, and a warm welcome to everyone watching back in the future. My name is Sarah West. My pronouns are she, they, and I am the Deputy Executive Director here at the Fulbright Commission in Ireland. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar today about Agri-Food, Climate and Environment sponsored awards and focus for potential Fulbright options in the 2025-2026 program cycle. I'm very pleased to let you know that today we have a fantastic panel discussion to come with our alum, Brian Hand, who's a 23-24 awardee, and Aoife Braden from the Geological Survey Ireland, who you will hear from very shortly. So today we're going to cover a little bit about what Fulbright is, the opportunities on offer this coming cycle, and then we'll hear from both Brian and Aoife and close with a Q&A. As we go along, feel free to pop your questions into the Q&A function in the chat, and we'll pick them up at the end to go through. So let's dive in. So what exactly is Fulbright and the Fulbright Commission and the awards? Fulbright was set up back in 1946 in the aftermath of World War II as a means to create mutual understanding and peace among nations through the medium of education and cultural exchange. Ireland joined in 1957, and now the program operates in 165 countries across the globe. The Irish Commission is unique in that it is one of 49 commissions across the program worldwide. The rest operate out of US embassies. And this is very significant because as a bilateral agreement between Ireland and the US, this demonstrates the true shared investment between both the US and Irish governments in the program. And as well as operating the Fulbright program, the Ireland United States Commission for Educational Exchange, which is what the Fulbright program operates from, we also administer Education USA advising on behalf of the US Department of State, which is to inspire folks from Ireland to be students over in the US, be it at the undergraduate or postgraduate level. So back to Fulbright and why we're all here today. Fulbright opportunities are for students, scholars, teachers, artists, professionals who are working across all disciplines from accounting to zoology to go research, study, teach, or lecture in the US, and for folks in the US to come to Ireland to do the same. And today we're particularly talking about opportunities available to Irish citizens, UK citizens, and EU citizens with 5 years residency in the Republic of Ireland. And a Fulbright award then would provide a monetary grant, which is calculated on a monthly rate depending on the duration of your project and the location that you're in. We here at the Commission support you through the J1 visa administration process in partnership with the US Embassy. The Fulbright program also offers you the minimum health benefit required for a J1, so that would help you in your coverage to meet the minimum J1 medical requirement. And then also why Fulbright is so unique is that it is all about cultural exchange and professional networking. So this is really another dimension that's unlike many grant bodies in that we are here to foster those diplomatic relations between Ireland and the US. And once you are a Fulbrighter, you're a Fulbrighter forever, and you become a part of a really robust alumni network, which we often call the Fulbright family. And here you can see some pictures from our alum. And we often hear that it is really a lifelong experience that comes with a lot of recognition. The name carries a lot of prestige, particularly in the US, where it is very well known. And again, I mentioned you are part of the Fulbright family. And that is just not with Ireland, but all of the 165 countries that operate the program. When in the US, you would encounter lots of Fulbrighters from all over the globe. And here on our screens, you can see some photographs again of our alum in the US. And here you might not be seeing what you might expect in terms of being at the desk, at the library, in the classroom, but actually out and about, bringing yourself to this experience and taking a little bit back from the US with you as a person. And that is the difference in Fulbright. And diving in here a little bit to the application process. We won't go through all the technical bits, as we have another webinar coming up in about 2 weeks' time that goes through a Q&A about the application, but just a brief overview. To start the process, you'd want to establish if you're eligible. To do this, there's a few criteria to meet. You can be an Irish passport holder, or if you have 5 years residency in the Republic of Ireland and you're an EU or UK citizen, you're also eligible to apply. Then you have to demonstrate a strong rationale for why the US specifically. What is it about your affiliation in the US that you need, that you can't get anywhere else? And why is it Fulbright? Again, we're saying this diplomatic cultural ambassador program that also is the key to your project. There is a J1 visa regulation that you have to return to Ireland for 2 years after receiving your J1 visa. That doesn't mean you still can't travel back to the US on the visa waiver ESTA program, but you do have a 2-year home rule, it's called. You cannot be a US dual Irish citizen, and you may not be living in the US at the time of application. And also preferences given to those without extensive experience in the US. And if you have any questions about your eligibility, please do email us at awards@fulbright.ie. That's awards@fulbright.ie, and I'll pop that in the chat for you there. And in terms of timing, it's fabulous that you're all watching today. We are here in October right now. The deadline for the 25-26 program cycle is the 31st of October, 4 p.m. Irish time. There's still plenty of time to craft your application and make it. From November then to December, all applications are reviewed by peer experts in your field or discipline. Then those that are reviewed technically by your subject experts, there's a shortlist created, and those shortlisted are called to interview online with us at Zoom. And then offers will be made come March time. So in terms of your planning now through this process, you're here getting information. You can apply for 1 award each program cycle. So after assessing all the information available, you make a choice on what award is right for you. The All Disciplines Awards are highly competitive, which is why we are really advocating to look at the sponsored opportunities and see if there's a niche there with the strategy or a program focus that you can pull out and seek a sponsored award application. You'll be crafting your project proposal and really, again, focusing on what it is to be a Fulbrighter and why that is the type of grant you need to seek in terms of cultural ambassadorship. And on our website, you can get the application link. I'll talk you through that in a moment. But stepping back to look at the types of awards on offer. Here on your screen, you can see there's kind of 5 main categories of awards. Today, we're going to zoom in on the first 3, the awards at the student level, scholar level, and our Tech Impact Awards, which are unique to Ireland. So, as I mentioned, our awards are open to people across all disciplines. Today, we're here to focus on opportunities for people in the agri-food, climate, environment sector. The all disciplines category in both the student and scholar level are spaces where you could apply. The scholar and professional, when we say professional, we mean folks who may not have a PhD, but have 5 years or more relevant work experience. And those awards are from anywhere from 3 months to 12 months. So you can craft a project of that duration. And again, the rate of funding is set on a monthly rate, depending on how long your project is. And the student level is for folks who are looking to do a degree at the postgraduate level or part of their PhD research. And that it can be up from 4 to 12 months of funding. And then diving in a little deeper to our fabulous partnered awards here, our sponsored awards. These are fantastic opportunities to build affiliations on both sides of the water. You'll seek out your affiliation, but you have the support strategically and financially of some wonderful institutions here in Ireland and in the US. We have a broad range, but looking specifically today at the environmental, climate, agriculture sectors. In yellow, you'll see here at the student level, the Irish student level, we have the Museum Fellowship with the Smithsonian. We have the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA Award, the Geological Survey Ireland Award. We will hear from Aoife today. And we have the Teagasc Award. And as I mentioned, you can still apply through the All Disciplines category as well. At the scholar level and professional level, we have as well the EPA, the GSI, and the Teagasc Awards. And I know there's a lot of words here on the slide, but these are also linked on our website. If you click under Going to the USA, you can see all the details about each of these awards on offer. And then to mention the NUI Award, if you are a graduate of an NUI institution, and the Tech Impact Awards, which are very unique to Ireland. And they have a information communications technology focus, which means if you have an idea that needs a technology, or you have a technology to offer to someone in the US or an institution in the US, you can then apply for funding from anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months, which is a fantastic opportunity. If there's a smaller bit of time that you can only be away for, this would give you that flexibility. So those are the Tech Impact Awards. And you might have something in the other awards that aren't highlighted that has that flavor of environmental, climate, or agriculture focus. And there's nothing stopping you from trying to see if you can slot in your project there. So do look at these institutions, check their missions, their strategies, current work, see if there's something that aligns and feels right to you. And focusing in specifically on the Fulbright Geological Survey Ireland GSI Award that is on offer. This could be at either the student or the scholar level. And this is to have the opportunity to study across all fields of geoscience or climate-related topics in the US. These fields include marine mapping, geological processes, earth observation, geohazards, raw materials, etc. So do have a look on their website to see, and we will also be hearing from Aoife very shortly. The EPA Environmental Protection Agency Award as well. This focuses on climate evidence, healthy environments, the natural environment, green economies, and again, this is at the student and scholar level as well. So you can decide which category you would apply under. And this is to travel to the US for this type of research. You can check the EPA website as well to see their research and priority areas. For Teagasc, this has more of an agriculture, forestry, food focus, and you can also check out the themes that are priority to them as you craft an application for this cycle. As I mentioned, the deadline's at the end of this month, and just to give you an overview of what the application actually will look like, inside the online application form, you'll pop in your personal info and a CV. Then a very significant piece is your Fulbright statement, also known as your personal statement. And this is where we want to hear just about you as a person, the kind of cultural ambassador you would be, who you are, and what you would bring to the US, and what you hope to gain from that experience as well. This is not just about rehashing your CV or your project, but this is about you, because with Fulbright, we're funding people to go out and do this kind of diplomatic work through education and cultural exchange. Your project statement, which is obviously your outline of the research or course work you want to be doing. You'll need to get 3 recommendations. So my advice is send that out, those requests as quickly as you can, because that's you're relying on someone else to come through for you there. Send those out. You'll just need a copy of your passport as well, and your letter of affiliation. There's an institution out there that will sponsor you. Will not be sponsoring you, will be hosting you, that they've agreed to give you access to the facilities that you need. So in terms of finding a host, obviously look to who are the experts over there in your field. You can also look to our alum to see where they have gone, what types of institutions they've affiliated with. And at the Commission here in Ireland, we really do welcome and encourage looking for a host in diverse regions. It may not be the first institution that comes to your mind, but maybe you're going to be of service to an institution somewhere you'd never expect, and where they would never expect, or maybe haven't had a Fulbrighter before. But there's nothing to stop you looking at institutions that could really use this element of cultural exchange. And if you have questions about it, you can, of course, email us. Look at the sponsors and see where their alliances lie, where they are trying to do their work, and see if there's anything that resonates there. And then in terms of your research, again, focusing on the sponsorships in these areas, obviously figuring out why your specific proposal is going to be groundbreaking for the sector. And more importantly, the impact that it may have on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean, and why your voice, your identities are needed, and the ability to bring back something from the US to Ireland is required as well. Then moving into your statement, just to go in a little bit more, this is about you and the ethos of what it means to be a Fulbrighter, your personal motivations for applying for this award. And after the application button's submitted, you take a deep breath, you wait, your application goes off for review. At the review stage, there's a larger weight given to your professional academic record, and your cultural engagement leadership would have a lesser weight at the time of review by the technical experts in your field. However, then should you be shortlisted for interview, the real weight of the interview comes into your cultural engagement skills and your leadership skills, where your academic professional record and your project is a smaller piece. We really, again, at that point, want to hear from you and about you. And speaking about you and all the identities you might bring to the program, this is what it's all about. And thankfully, Fulbright has so many different types of affinity groups where Fulbrighters and Fulbright applicants come together in different communities. You can see here a few of the logos of the different Fulbright groups. You can access their pages online, on social media. And again, we encourage, there's Fulbrighters everywhere and potential Fulbrighters everywhere. So geographically, institution-wise, abilities, ethnicities, it's about people. And in terms of resources that are available to folks, there's not only these affinity groups, but events online, in person, and our webinar library is quite robust on our YouTube page. If there's any questions you might have, do flick through those videos. And just to mention briefly, there is also the Schumann Awards, which are on offer through our Belgian Commission colleagues. This is also something that may appeal to people in the environmental success sector. This is for EU policy relations with the US. So do check that out. And just to note, this has a different deadline of the 1st of December, 2024. So just in closing here, there are 90% of successful awardees have attended a roadshow or webinar. So by being here today, well done. You're well on your way. 50% of those who started but did not complete an application didn't engage with any supports. And we've heard from alumni time and time again that there are no downsides to making a Fulbright application. Through the process, you learn so much about yourself, thinking about this dynamic of cultural exchange and of reaching out and receiving back, and professionally as well, really looking at your trajectory and where you've come from. And often we say you're pushing a warm door when you use the Fulbright name when you inquire to someone, because in the US especially, this name is well known, this program and its impact carries quite a lot of weight. So don't be afraid to stick Fulbright in an email query to someone, because the worst thing is that you don't get anything back. But the best thing is that it could change your life. And we'll hear from one of our alum today. And we'd be very glad to welcome you to the Fulbright family. In terms of next steps, talk to a Fulbrighter. You'll hear from one today. You can check them on our website, our alumni section, www.fulbright.ie. That's www.fulbright.ie. And we're all over all the social channels too if you need any other info. So I will stop my talking here and turn over to one of our very generous alumni, Dr. Brian Hand, our 2023-24 Fulbright Environmental Protection Agency Scholar. So Brian, if you'd like to welcome you on, you can unmute and share your screen here.
Yeah, there we go. Hi everyone. My name is Brian Hand. So I was a Fulbright scholar funded by the EPA, and I actually left Ireland in January. So I went to Stanford University. My background is very much to do with renewable energy. So my main area would be offshore wind, particularly floating wind energy. So I went to basically a research center in Stanford University. It's called the Center for Turbulence Research. So they're very well known for their research in fluid dynamics, and their research in the renewables field also. So my project was basically simulating floating wind turbines using high fidelity computational fluid dynamics. And while I was there, I basically had access to high computational resources, which I could use for my actual numerical modeling. So yeah, it was a very good experience. I got to meet researchers from all over the world. This is my first time I was in the US, so it kind of opened my eyes a lot to how the US operated and the kind of cultural difference between, let's say, Ireland and the US. So I also got, as I said, I mentioned, I developed contacts with researchers from all over the world. Every week they used to have like seminars from professors from the US and even Europe, and they would present research they're doing. So it's very good for building a network. So also I got a chance to actually travel. So that's one of the good things with doing some of this. So the weekends you could actually possibly see other locations. I'm a big believer in adventures and also, let's say, challenging myself. So I got to go to places like Yosemite and Grand Canyon, these type of places. So it was a very good experience. This is actually one of the photos I was taken in March. So it was actually one of the highlights of my experiences that I was able to partake in the actual St. Patrick's Day parade in San Francisco. So there's actually a community of Irish people in Stanford University. They're called the Stanford Irish Association. So they're actually a defined association within Stanford. And we were allowed to actually parade in the actual St. Patrick's Day parade. So that was a very, very good experience. And probably the first St. Patrick's Day where it was actually sunny, because everyone in Ireland is nearly always raining for some reason. So to be actually sunny, I thought was just amazing. Do I have any tips for your application? I would definitely start looking into places you might be interested in going. As Sarah mentioned, there's no harm to, make contact and see if there's any interest from their side. So the worst thing that can happen is that you don't get any answer. I would also start looking to writing your personal statement. This does take a bit of time to write. It's very, very much about yourself. So it's just trying to describe what kind of person you are to the Fulbright community. Also, you need 3 references. So basically, have a stock take about who you know and who'd be able to provide a very good reference to you. If you have any interest at all about the Fulbright, I would just recommend just going for it, because it was definitely one of the best experiences I ever had. I've no regrets of doing it. You do learn a lot about yourself, and I feel I became a lot more confident from doing it. And also, I met a lot of people while I was doing it. So it was definitely one of the best things I ever did. Is there anything else I should mention? So how did I actually get into contact with the university in the first place? Yeah, it was just basically me emailing them. I didn't know some of the researchers there, so I think that helped. But it's no harm to just kind of develop kind of a relationship and then just briefly ask if you're interested in this Fulbright. And as Sarah mentioned earlier, it is more well known over in the US than here. So I do think it's very possible that you get a good response. I think that's pretty much
zooming back in. Sorry. Hi. Thank you so much, Brian. It's absolutely wonderful to hear about that. It had such an impact on you when you were over there, and also hearing a little bit more about the Fulbright personal statement, that can sometimes take a bit of time.
Definitely, yeah. I think I had at least 4 drafts during my time. So even stuff like Lego was mentioned, and Al Gore and all this kind of stuff. So, but you can think as widely as you possibly can. So it's about you and what influences you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. We'll come back at the Q&A to go into more specifics if anyone has more questions. But thank you. I'll turn over now to Aoife Braden from the Geological Survey Ireland.
Thank you.
Jumping. Thank you, Brian. Hi,
Hi.
Aoife. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Oh, you've disabled screen sharing.
Sit here. We'll allow you now.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Okay. Take it away.
So I just have a few slides, but just to maybe give people a little background, and maybe as one of the kind of I suppose thematic sponsored awards. So Sarah covered some of it already, but maybe just to give a little bit of background into the Geological Survey itself. So we are a direct division, so we're an office within the Department of Environment, Climate and Communications. And we act as a kind of an earth science body or agency. So we provide information and data to all sectors. So it could be if you're a company looking for groundwater data, or in the policy space looking for some information and data that can support policy, or in the education research space. So we make all our data open and available online. And I've listed just the kind of the main areas, the main sections that we have internally. So our biggest sections will probably be our groundwater and then marine and coastal geoscience unit. And so the marine and coastal unit does a lot of work on, at the moment, in the kind of climate space as well. So although these are our sections internally, those individually then lead into bigger themes, and the outputs from those and the data products and things that we produce would feed into, say, policy areas for marine and coastal protection, or the geological mapping could feed into the Critical Raw Materials Act, which we're now putting in place from Europe. So we have different data and data products, so maps, reports, expertise, data layers, that we produce as a government office. And then we also support research through funding and collaborations and equipment and data services and facilities. So some of that funding, for example, is this co-funding with Fulbright. So as Sarah mentioned, we fund both the scholarships and the studentships, and for both incoming and outgoing. So as I say, the spaces that we're in, there's quite a bit of overlap and quite a bit of interest at the moment, particularly in the environment and climate areas and the application of those on both sides of the Atlantic. So it's supporting combined issues that we have, I suppose, global problems. So just to maybe give a little background, so we started the partnership with Fulbright back in 2015. We launched our own research program, and soon after that then did the first scholarships and studentships with Fulbright. And then we also actually sponsored two of the TEDx events that they held, which was really interesting because we got then the researchers who had gone or come back could attend that and see what it was about and what it was like, and maybe get them to give talks at the TEDx event. So there's a couple of other things that are kind of tied into Fulbright as well that have been really good. And even if it's not TEDx, there are other examples of events that Fulbright have involved us in very kindly, and it's been good to kind of see where the research has gone with some of those. So then in 2021, we had our first Fulbrighter that was in-house. This was an incoming one, but we've done the same. So we've encouraged our counterpart, the US Geological Survey, to take in people as well. And so it was a little bit of a test to see how that worked. And in that case, we had researchers who were either coming to GSI or they were coming to a joint host, which is the same, as far as I know, maybe Sarah, you could correct me, but there can be more than one host involved. And that was particularly useful to us as well, because it comes back to making that connection between us as a government office and the researchers. So I would certainly encourage you to think about going to somewhere like the US Geological Survey or the US EPA as an option as well. Obviously check all your rules and regulations, but if that is an option for your area, for those kind of thematic institutes, then it's worth looking at. I'll come back to the Cherish project in a minute. That was an example of somebody who came in to us. But and then in this year, we've renewed the agreement with Fulbright. So we're happy to say that we're going to continue on the partnership for another few years yet, and hopefully get some more really good research out of it. So in terms of benefiting, I've kind of mixed the two things in terms of the incoming and outgoing ones. I know this might be more focused on the outgoing, but for us, they actually have very similar and overlapping benefits. So it's because it's about building collaborations and new knowledge and new connections, and preferably long-term connections. So some of the people that we've hosted or that we've funded or sponsored to go to the US have stayed involved with us and with the researchers that they visited, and they've been producing more papers and more partnerships and more projects from those first projects that we sponsored. So for example, there Barry Lyons, I know, has been over a few times to Ireland following his Fulbright And because he's been working with a group in Galway, some of that group have then gone to the US in return. So overall, the larger scale groups have been connecting very effectively. And the same with Aggie there. So Aggie was a lecturer in UCD and went to the US Geological Survey at Woods Hole, so the marine science section in Woods Hole. And she did some really interesting work there looking at methodologies and techniques that the USGS guys have now rolled into their mapping programs, their marine mapping programs. And it was a very successful collaboration and project that had lots of really good research out of it, but has continued on. And Aggie then has moved on to other things in the same area, still in marine science. But they've taken that research and run with it, and she still is co-authoring papers with them, and there's still some work coming from that. And Gavin the same. So Gavin went to Boise and is now in the Swedish Museum. And again, some of the methodological work that he did has been really useful and really effective, and has continued on and developed further. And then I'll just give an example of Jennifer's work, but that was more on the that was an area that spanned not just geoscience, but also the kind of public engagement and geoheritage. So just to give an example of the organizations that have been going out and coming back in again. So all of the Irish main universities, on the incoming ones, they've come from Environmental Protection Agency in the US, from East Carolina, Nebraska, Ohio State, Colorado School of Mines, Kentucky. And then Irish researchers have gone out to Harvard, University of Washington, USGS, Boise, and ASU. So it's been a real mix. And Sarah, you mentioned about, have a look at where suits best for your work. I would do that rather than trying to find, what you think is a high profile university to go to. Go to the best match for your work and where the real experts are in the space that you're in. This is just an example of what some of our researchers thought of the program and what they got out of it. And, in terms of access to labs and skills and expertise and knowledge that they wouldn't have been able to access otherwise. And particularly in Europe, there aren't that many funding schemes that would allow you to go to the US. A lot of it is for other research within the EU. This is an example of one that Jennifer Jones did when she came in, and has continued on the work back in East Carolina University. And she came to GSI and ended up as part of a project that we were doing, which was looking at our marine heritage. So she works on the heritage side. She's a more of a kind of a history and heritage person, so a little bit adjacent maybe to what we were doing, but we needed somebody with that expertise. So it was a real multidisciplinary project, and her expertise ended up being really vital in how best to record and monitor these kind of heritage sites that are along our coasts. So it's part of a big EU project. And this is some of Aggie's work that I mentioned. So when she went to Woods Hole, and talking about the personal statement, I mean, what we asked people to give some feedback on it, and she had said that her life was enriched, not just her career, not just her work, but actually what it gave her in terms of confidence for what she was doing, and to really kind of go to that next step in her career and her ideas and her knowledge, and talking to other people that are outside the EU system or outside the Irish system, and to really get a different perspective on things. And she found it extremely useful. So just to maybe add a couple more things on for our programs, we usually ask for people to get engaged in the teaching and research. The teaching can be quite light. It doesn't need to, we don't expect people to go and give, modules of things, but what we would like to do in terms of the knowledge sharing is that there are, for example, workshops or short courses, or something where you're giving to a wider group than just the research group that you're engaged with. So it might be field trips or something in the geoscience space or whatever it is. But if you look at something that's maybe a little bit more, that you can raise the profile of the work you're doing and your research and GSI, and show how this can maybe be beneficial to a wider group, we think is always useful. So I'll leave it there. Maybe it might be better to give people time to ask questions rather than to talk at people a lot.
Oh, thank you so much, Aoife. That
No
is
problem.
stunning. It's great to hear that there's so many continuing collaborations that popped up, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
that there were some people whose expertise was adjacent and unexpected maybe, or just so needed And
Yep.
that's something we definitely would say, like, if you can find your niche, if you can find that unexpected place where you're needed, that is brilliant,
Yep.
or where you need someone. So thank you. Brian, you're welcome to join us now. We'll open it up to questions from folks. If anyone has anything they want to ask or add, we're here.
I should just say, I know Brian had very nice photographs. The reason I don't is because when I asked our people for photographs, they sent me pictures of rocks. And I think that isn't going to inspire anybody to go to the US. Not, at least not like a rock sitting on a table in a lab. So I held back the photographs on our side. They probably had beautiful photographs of, you know, outside and outcrops and things, but they're not the ones they sent us.
We do a photo call every year, a competition among awardees to try to take pictures to help create our, you know, our Fulbright story and for the annual report. And we're always like, please put yourself in the picture too, like,
Yeah.
you're there.
Yeah.
So
it's a bit of a challenges thing.
we had one question, it's been answered there in the Q&A of, you know, what's the competition like between applying for an all disciplines award versus a sponsored award? And just to say, because the all disciplines category is so broad, it often gets so many more applications and therefore is very highly competitive, which is why we're here today to encourage folks to try to see if the sponsored awards are right, because what a great opportunity to get the extra backing of another amazing body and partner with you on your work. Brian, I don't know if you can speak to, oh, sorry, you were going to say something.
No, sorry, I was just going to say actually on that. So we've ended up sponsoring, as you say, projects that were slightly, what would look to be slightly adjacent to our core area. And that's partly because we either, more often than not, we're not expecting somebody necessarily. We don't put out a call for that topic or that area, but we get them in, and if they can show how they are connected to the geoscience piece and how they're bringing some added value, then that's enough for us. We don't have a very restrictive limit on the type of research we can fund or the topic. So if it's, as long as it's something that's supporting in the wider geoscience area or helping to support the kind of environmental and climate areas, then that's sufficient. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's perfect to know. And I know, Brian, have you had much engagement still with EPA or like that realm from having gone the sponsored route, or do you feel like there's impact from that linkage?
Definitely, yeah, definitely going forward, I'd be definitely interested in doing research with the EPA. So I think going to the US and having been sponsored by them will definitely improve my let's say my research going forward. So I know they do a lot of funding and stuff like that, so that's something I'd be definitely interested going forward. So when I was over too, I did see like people working with the kind of environmental stuff. So that was interesting too. So yeah, it was very important also.
Fabulous. And another thing I just wanted to highlight was, say that you do apply, and if it doesn't work out this year, if it's very competitive, we have had so many Fulbright awardees who applied one year, didn't get it, got close, made it to a certain stage, and then applied the next year, and sometimes even the next year, and then they've got it. So that you have that framework already built, the time isn't wasted in that regard. And the time, Brian, do you want to speak to that?
Definitely, I wouldn't be I wouldn't get down over not getting it the first time, because you basically have the body of the work done. You might have to make like minor modifications. So do ask for feedback from Fulbright. And it should be a case then of just kind of make a few small modifications or change some part of the scope of the project or something like that. So definitely reapply if you're not successful the first time.
I can see another question here. If you apply for a sponsored award, are you still eligible or considered for the All Disciplines Award? It would depend on the year and where applications score. So we would say do start with the sponsored area. And if the scores align and if it can be made, offers could still be made potentially, but it's not guaranteed. But we would say start with the sponsored if there's any inclination that it might be an opportunity for you. What was I going to say? With the no, that's pretty much it. This other question, is the award also for Spanish universities which collaborate with an Irish university? You would need to be an Irish passport holder to apply. So you can email us or an EU citizen or UK citizen with 5 years residency in the Republic. So do email us if you have more specific queries, and we'd be happy to go through any eligibility queries. If there's any other questions, I won't belabor everyone's precious lunch hour here. But just wanted to thank you both, Aoife and Brian, for joining us and
Yeah.
Jennifer for your time.
And if people have specific questions or if we can help at all, tell them to get in touch with us. That's not a problem. You know, if they're looking for, we might not have contacts in every area, but particularly for things like the other agencies or the US EPA or USGS, we may have contacts. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Just one thing I'd like to add too is that you can contact me too, but there should be an ambassador in every university for Fulbright.
Yes.
So reach out to them and they will give you help, especially where I'm based. There is an ambassador, so they gave me a lot of support in the application. So definitely reach out to them.
Brilliant. Yes, I know Blue River Vet Site, that is a huge resource.
You know.
That's like all these institutions in Ireland. We have generous alumni who serve as our campus ambassadors, and they're a wealth of resources. They can probably pinpoint other folks you may want to talk to, get help through the application process, or any things that maybe, you know, you wouldn't want to ask us here at the commission, but just want to ask another fellow Fulbright folks. So yeah, I'll put our email here, awards@fulbright.ie. And you can also ring us at the office too. So thank you so much, Brian, Aoife, for joining us, and everyone tuning in. October 31st is the deadline, and look forward to seeing y'all in the future.
Thanks, everything. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.